Welcome to a great Trailblazer community event group in Bella Vista. But of course, we're virtual today, so we might be joining from all necks of the woods. My name's Adam Best. I'm a senior program architect at Salesforce here, and happy to share, some things about DevOps which might help you be successful in your customer today. Before we begin, you might have seen this slide before, but just reminding you, Salesforce is a publicly listed company, and so we remind you to make any purchasing decisions based off features generally available today. I won't be speaking at length about anything forward-looking, but there might be references to some features that might be not generally available, that might be in pilot or beta. And because Salesforce is so innovative, we've got 2 slides reminding you to make sure you're making any purchasing decisions based on features generally available today. So thank you for joining. So the most precious thing you can give someone is your time. I'm here because I like to give back to the community and hopefully give you some value and some tips and tricks to make you successful. And thank you for your time for joining and learning about Salesforce and DevOps. So first, some logistics. If you have a question, please pop it in the chat panel inside the meeting there. We'll have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So the runtime about 20 minutes. We're aiming this session, so not a big one, but we'll get to those questions. So no question. So if you've got that question, someone else might be thinking it as well. We will be recording the session. Ripon has just let everyone know that he's recording, and he'll post that and send that link out to everyone after today. And also the copy of the slide deck we'll make available and send that out as well. So my name's Adam Best. I'm from Professional Services and I'm a program architect. And you might be thinking, well, what's a program architect? Well, I guess a technical architect has just got the breadth and depth of the platform. The program architect looks at the digital transformation as well. That's the best analogy. So I'm in a customer just like yourself, making them successful, whether you're like Ripon, who works directly for customer, or if you're working for an SI or a consultancy firm on a customer engagement. We're all there innovating on the platform and building and helping get those features out, whether that be a small, large, or BAU or little features. We're all okay. So I have about 20 years experience in tech, about 13 of those in the Salesforce industry. And I'm also an evangelist of DevOps. That's what we're here today about. Something that I'm passionate about, and also I'm passionate about the Trailblazer as well. Okay, so there's a barcode on there. More than happy for you to click on that, and we'll scan that with your phone and connect with me on LinkedIn. And I often post about things regularly every week, all things architecture, DevOps, aspiring Trailblazer, how to get a job in the ecosystem. Brilliant. So let's talk about DX first, Salesforce DX. So what is DX? And people might be thinking, oh, that's going down the code path. Well, actually, DX is developer experience. Okay, so everything that you need to successfully build and test on the Salesforce platform to get your changes out to production. So that includes things like low code. So you've got app builder. You might be creating fields in sandboxes and flows. It also includes things like Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code is an IDE that you can use to retrieve and deploy metadata, and you can also use it to program Apex classes and so on and so forth. But it also includes other tooling, open source tooling, such as Git and your source control repositories like GitHub, and any CI/CD software as well. So when we talk about DX, we're talking about the developer experience. We're not just talking about command line interface or CLI. Everything encompasses the developer experience. Okay, so you might notice there are 2 products there on the page today. They are in pilot. So obviously think about that forward looking, the DevOps Center, and I'll allude to that a little bit later as well, and also something called Code Builder. Okay, so Salesforce DX developer experience includes everything from sandboxes all the way down to other tools you might use, open source tools like Visual Studio Code and Git. And so why are we here? Why are we talking about DevOps? Why is DevOps important? Well, DevOps is important because building features, innovating, getting those out to production, it costs money. Okay, it costs time, and of course some tools as well. So we want to articulate to the business or to our managers, why would we want to improve our experience? Why do we want to be able to deploy faster? Why do we? Because it's going to get business value. Okay, so let's think about what our managers and our stakeholders, the business, are thinking. They're thinking, hey, the business wants to decrease the time to market for our requests. The faster we can get change out, the quicker we can innovate. Okay, and quite possibly stay ahead of our competitors. Okay, they want to increase the frequency of our releases. We just don't want to deploy 4 times a year, 4 quarterly releases. We want to deploy monthly, or we want to deploy weekly. Okay, and they do want allow some time for experimentation as well. Okay, IT, they want to decrease deployment time and system downtime. Okay, so they want it to go out fast and quickly, and also the time that we have to maybe say to the production users, hey, let's get out while we deploy, and so on and so forth. Okay, I'm not saying turn Salesforce off. You don't really do that, but the business users, right? IT also want improved efficiency. The amount of time developer and all deployment leads spend on the process rather than building the features. Okay, and of course improving that turnaround time to business value. Right? The faster we can get features out, the faster we can get business value and start getting return on it. Okay, finance, what are they thinking about? They're thinking about return on investment. Okay, so we have a lower cost of ownership, or with a lower cost of investment, then of course finance is going to be much better, decreasing the cost of ownership as well. Okay, improved developer efficiency. Okay, so again, spending less time on the process deployment or infrastructure provisioning. Olivia, I'm thinking about you on this one. But more time spent on building the features. Okay, or having that BAU or operate task like backup and restore, not having to, spend your time coding that kind of stuff, right? Okay, it's our time and it's money. And last but not least, but I think the most important is risk, and especially if you're in enterprise, if you're in government, if you're in financial services, telecommunications, all those tier 1. There's risk if you have a production incident, and that's obviously going to cause, money. Okay, major incident management is something costly, and reputation to brand as well. Okay, so all of these things, that's what your manager's thinking about, and that's what the business is thinking about. And so when we talk about DevOps, we're going to anchor. How are we going to improve this to get business value and efficiencies, so that we can get the right tools to do the right job to support the people that we have. Okay, and that might look a little bit different from organization to organization, and we'll talk about that in another slide. Now, I think to start with, let's talk about the package development models, and I don't want to go into the package development model today. We're going to talk about the org development model, but I'm more than happy for you to ask questions at the end about package development model. So the org development model on the left-hand side is what you've probably been familiar with today and for many, many years. So that is using a sandbox, creating the change in that sandbox, using something like change sets or an LM tool like Capado, AutoRabbit, Gset, okay, to then move that change to another sandbox and eventually in the path to production, okay? The package development model, and you might think, oh, well, that what's a scratch all got to do with that? Well, the package development model is breaking down that one package, that happy soup, into different packages, and you do that using something called a scratch org, and then you would deploy multiple packages on the, or install or update multiple packages instead of it just being in one kind of one package per se. Okay, so there's no right or wrong answer on what package development model you should use, but the reasons using the business reasons that I have personally seen using package development model is if you're moving common code across multiple production orgs, because obviously it's just not one org, okay? It's not one big happy soup. You want to move it across multiple production orgs. So if you want to digitally sign your code going out, packages, I've seen package development model being used for that, and a few edge case reasons, okay? But today I want to talk about org development model because that's the basics and that's where we want to start. So what does that mean? So like I alluded to a few moments ago, we've got what's called a sandbox, okay? So if you're working in a customer today, you'll know that you'll have something called sandboxes, which is a replication of your production org when you create one. So you create a sandbox and then you create some features on that. You might add some fields, you might add some validation rules, you might add some workflows, workflows end of life soon. So let's talk about flows. You might add some flows, and also the coding things like Apex classes and LWCs, okay? And once you've created that on a sandbox, then you would use an IDE and or a simulator and or an ALM tool to pull that down to your PC or Mac, and then you would commit that to source control, and then you would deploy that particular code configuration on the path to production, okay? Now, I should say you're not going to be using version control or a CI/CD tool if you're using change sets, which is on platform native to Salesforce. But most of the time, if you're working in enterprise today, you'll be using that collaboration, that source control, and then also a CI/CD. Now, I don't have a lot of slides today, so I'm just going to talk track the benefits of something like source control. So if we think about source control is collaboration on code, okay? So if we're a smaller organization, we have a sandbox, we make some changes, we use change sets to put those out to another sandbox in production, and that works fine, and that's been used for many, many years. But when you start to increase the number of admins or consultants and developers all building change, and you need to kind of bundle up that change and collaborate and then move that change on the path to production, you might have multiple sandboxes, then that's going to get tricky unless you have some collaboration tools like source control to then merge that change, okay? So if you're having that trouble today and you're just using change sets, you probably want to go look at a tool which is on the next slide, and source control to then be able to collaborate on change, which doesn't quite really fit the change sets, okay? So let's talk about these tools that most people would think about when we're talking about